The ACU football team is back home tonight to battle Incarnate Word. I'm Max Preston.
I'm Grant Boone. We'll preview that game against the Cardinals and recap last week's matchup with SFA. It's the Adam Dorrel Show right now. Welcome to this week's episode of the Adam Dorrel Show from the JMC Network studios on the campus of Abilene Christian University. I'm Grant Boone alongside senior journalism major Max Preston and the head football coach at ACU, Adam Dorrel. ACU returns to Wildcat Stadium tonight, hosting the University of the Incarnate Word. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. It's a game that you can watch on ESPN Plus. Access it via the ESPN app, or you can listen to it on radio. Coach, you're going to get a Cardinals team that you handled fairly easily last year down in San Antonio, but coming off a bye week after a blowout victory 2 weeks ago, how different is this UIW team than the one you saw last year?
Yeah, it's a lot different, Grant, to be honest with you. There's really no comparison. They have a new coaching staff, new schemes on offense and defense, got a lot of new transfer players, and so just they've definitely upgraded their team tremendously from where it was last year. So we've got a really big challenge in front of us Saturday night.
Yep. So, Coach, you know, your team was on the road the last 2 weeks, both games pretty distant from Abilene. So would you say your staff and your team really needs this home game this weekend?
Absolutely. It could not come at a more welcome time. You know, our guys love playing at home and love playing in our new stadium. And, you know, since we opened last year, our fans and crowds have been, you know, just awesome. And so our guys are absolutely really excited. You could feel that buzz this week at practice, and we're ready to be back in Wildcat Stadium.
It's family weekend. You know you're going to have a big crowd. Freshman Follies this weekend as well. So should be a great night tonight, 6 o'clock kickoff. We'll preview that game against Incarnate Word a little bit later on in the show. But when we come back, highlights and analysis from Coach Dorrel on the Wildcats' nail-biter in Nacogdoches last week. This is the Adam Dorrel Show. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Adam Dorrel Show. Last week, the Wildcats were in East Texas to tangle with Stephen F. Austin. Here are the highlights. Madison Kreitz.
ACU traveled to take on Stephen F. Austin this weekend, starting out with an SFA field goal. ACU doesn't get the chance to respond until the second quarter with a 6-yard run by Billy McCrary to give ACU the lead. The Lumberjacks looked to steal the lead with a 17-yard touchdown pass to close out the first half with a score of 10-7. The third quarter then opens up with Luke Anthony's pass being intercepted by SFA's Lawrence Ganza, giving SFA back the ball. Though the Lumberjacks were unable to score with the interception, they then forced a fumble, giving them another touchdown for a score of 17-7. McCurry then answers to that touchdown with his second scoring play of the night, cutting SFA's lead to 3. But SFA didn't let their lead go, as they score yet another touchdown, this time by Josh Covey. AC still kept up a fight, and with a little over a minute left, Josh Fink catches a 2-yard pass for a touchdown. The Wildcats fell to the Lumberjacks with the final score of 24-21.
Okay, Madison, thank you. 24-21 in favor of Stephen F. Austin, the final score. Coach, you began the game on defense, and while you kept the Lumberjacks out of the end zone, they did hold the ball for over 6 minutes, 13 plays. They went 70 yards to take a 3-0 lead. As the game unfolded, how important was Stephen F.'s ability to possess the ball in terms of impacting the outcome?
Yeah, I think it did definitely impact the game. I think our coaches would tell you a little bit disappointed we didn't get off the field, and then we didn't help ourselves on the other side of the football, only going 17% on third down. Missed a lot of third and shorts too. Usually when you see a stat like that, you go back and you think a lot of them are third and longs, and they weren't. They were third and short. So I think it was multifaceted. I think it was an offense and defense deal, and needed to get off the field a little bit sooner than we did at times, and us unable to sustain drives obviously hurt us as well.
Sometimes time of possession is misleading, but in this game, it really was a factor.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a big time of possession guy. I just never have been, but I think a little bit in this game, being on the road for the second week, it was definitely hot and muggy there. Certainly didn't help our defense at all.
Yeah.
Yes, so Coach, coming into the game, you're averaging over 200 rushing yards per game with the first 3 games, and then you get 54 yards in this game. Would you say SFA was really ready for your rushing attack this game?
Yeah, I think so, and I think, not to take anything away from them, I thought they did some really good things. We didn't feel like we executed at the level we needed to. We felt like we weren't staying on blocks, missed some of our double teams, and then, real candidly, in my experience, at some point in time, I kind of knew this was coming. I mean, people are not going to sit there and watch you jam the ball down their throat if they're any good, and so they certainly dared us to throw the football and make some plays in the air, and we just didn't do that. We didn't hit them with any play action passes. We weren't able to sustain and win some one-on-one matchups down the field, and it's something we talked about. I mean, everything, it goes hand in hand, and so this week we've tried to focus on, hey, we're not going to give up on the running game. We're going to commit to it, stay committed to it. How can we make it better? Is there formational stuff we can do? And then we just have got to win some one-on-one matchups. If they're going to put that many guys in the box, crowd the box, you got to be able to make play action passes down the field.
Probably your best sequence of the night in terms of running the ball came at the end of the first half. You get an Adonis Davis interception, his second of the year. He put you at the 38-yard line. In 6 plays, you're in the end zone. 4 of those plays were runs, a 15-yarder from Tracy James. It was culminated by Billy McCrary's 6-yard run for a touchdown. They then come right back, though, in 60 seconds, and they get a touchdown. So it's 10-7 at halftime. It felt to me up in the radio booth like one of those nights where momentum was tough to sustain. You'd get a good thing happen, then they'd come right back. What was the feeling down 10-7 at halftime?
Well, it wasn't panic. People were disappointed, myself included, players. The lack of focus and being able to sustain assignments and just, energy and passion. We felt like we'd done such a great job all year. And obviously, we, as a head coach and as a football program, we want that to be our strength. Play with great second effort, play with a lot of passion, a lot of energy. Because I know if you do those things and you play fundamental football, you're going to be in every football game. And so everybody's sitting there going, it's 10-7. Everybody's like, hey, man, take a deep breath. We're only down 1 possession. But it really took us a little time to get guys focused and recentered on, here's what we need to do the second half.
So, Coach, in the second half, you have to put the ball in Luke's hands a little more. In the third quarter, he, has 2 turnovers, but he gets the touchdown late in the game to Fink to keep you guys in it. How would you rate Luke's performance on the game?
I thought he did some really good things. I think I go back and I look at, the thing with offense, it's like quarterback's the position that's always going to stand out, kind of like cornerback on defense is going to stand out. And I always tell people, if you see a quarterback make a bad play or a cornerback make a bad play, there's 10 other dudes involved in the play. But, certainly the one he wants back is the ball that fell out of his hand going backwards.
Fluke play.
Yeah, and that was a costly one. But, other than that, I was proud of him and the way he rebounded, not just Luke, but our whole team. I mean, if you look at, there was mass shortcomings throughout that game. We were all disappointed. I was disappointed in myself as the way I coached, and felt like I could have been a lot better. But nobody quit. And again, from a cultural standpoint, I think there's things that we can learn from that. We will grow from, and just how can we be ready to play quicker the next time on a road game.
Everybody wants to be quarterback, and then all of a sudden everything gets thrown on you and nothing else is
I never
working.
wanted to be a quarterback. I grew up wanting to be an O-lineman my whole life.
And you did that very well. It was 24-14 early fourth quarter. Max mentioned the late touchdown to Fink. You got about 1.5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
You're out of timeouts. You're forced to onside kick. You bring out both kickers, Oscar Hernandez and Taylor Williamson. And, Coach, we got to talk about that. This was a thing of beauty. This ball that I think Oscar is the one who ultimately put in play. And it's rolling around. That's really all you can ask for an onside kick, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's a great scheme, I thought.
Yeah, thank you. You practice those things. You may go practice those things and you practice them every Thursday. And you may go for 3 years and you never use it, literally. Yeah. And then you turn around and you got to be able to execute it. It's very high pressure on a kicker. But, man, he hit that thing and that thing popped beautifully. And you go back and look and Hune had come from the backside and made a great play at the ball. Jamar Mack just played with great effort the whole night. He undercut a defender, and it literally went right by his head. Obi jumped in there, and it was in his fingertips for a second. So, again, I think that just kind of symbolized the night. We were just a little short, but, man, it wasn't from a lack of effort. It was more execution and focus at times.
So, Coach, you look at some of the defensive numbers. Jeremiah Chambers, your leading tackler, has a career high of 15 tackles. But then a guy that hasn't really stood out too much, Quishon Washington, he has 9 tackles on the game. You know, you switched him from offense to defense over the offseason. How would you rate his performance so far on defense this season?
I feel like he's playing really well. We're really proud of him. He continues to grow. And the thing with Q is you're just starting to see growth. When he's comfortable and I understand what's going on, man, he's really – we call it shooting your guns, just going, making plays and playing loose, and he's really starting to do that. He's got very good technique. If you look at him, the way he tackles properly, heads up tackling, he always leverages the football properly, and just really proud of him, and he's doing a lot of really good things.
It's fun. You want the best players from anywhere, but It's fun, isn't it, to have some Abilene guys? You got a bunch on the offensive line.
Absolutely, and I don't, you know, I think people know this, but for a guy who played in my hometown where I grew up, it's a very, very special deal. I think to the university, I think to the community, and I think to the young man. And so, you know, we have him, you have Oscar Hernandez, you have Cade Parmley. You know, the one just to me I'm super proud of is John Crisp. I mean, you look at John and Slade Anderson, both of those kids are playing about 50% of the reps. And I mean,
John from a 6-man squad.
Absolutely, you know, and both of those young men being walk-ons, the work that they've put in, and we're very proud of our Abilene guys and what they're doing, and they are doing a lot.
In 6-man football, you know, O-linemen can run out and catch passes. We may want a secret weapon, John Crisp, get him out in coverage. Okay. 24-21 the final. Chance to get back tonight against Incarnate Word, and we'll preview that game against the Cardinals a little bit later on in the show. As we go to break, take a look at scores from around the Southland Conference last week. A huge win for Nichols over perennial power Sam Houston State. ASU will play both of those teams later this season. Stay with us. The Adam Dorrel Show continues in a moment. Welcome back to the Adam Dorrel Show with a look at what's happening around the rest of the ASU sports world. Here's Max.
Thanks, Grant. We start at Elmer Gray Stadium with soccer as the team was home for 2 Southland matches last weekend against Southeastern Louisiana and Nichols. The Wildcats were able to redeem their HBU loss with 1-0 wins over both teams. Ashley Stamps scored the lone goal against Southeastern Louisiana late in the second half on Friday, and Dylan Owens netted the only score Saturday against Nichols. The team was scheduled to face Central Arkansas on the road Friday evening. The volleyball team ruled its home court, defeating Lamar 3-0 last Thursday and McNeese 3-1 on Saturday. This starts the Wildcats off at 2-0 in conference play, and Caitlin Mueller posted 28 kills in the 2 games thanks to her big 20-kill performance against McNeese. The team will next face Incarnate Word in San Antonio Saturday at 2 p.m. Both cross-country teams ran in the Texas A&M Invitational last weekend, and once again, Kevin Kipkoski and Carnley Graham led the women and men individually. Kipkoski placed 5th out of 118 runners, while Graham finished 6th out of 117 women. Overall, the men placed 11th and the women placed 8th. The men and women will have the weekend off, but will be in San Antonio for the Incarnate Word Invitational next Saturday. The football team tries to recruit talent from different areas across Texas and even the entire country. However, they still make room for the possible recruitment of young Abilene athletes. Madison is standing by with a few of the Abilene native football players. Madison?
Thanks, Max. Playing collegiate football is already a big accomplishment, but playing for your hometown team is an even bigger one. We're here with Slade Anderson and John Crisp, 2 Abilene locals. So where did you guys go to high school?
I went to Abilene High School here in town.
And I went to Abilene Christian Schools.
So, Slade, your dad and your grandfather played for ACU. What were their reactions like when they found out you were going to be playing for ACU as well?
Okay, so my dad was really open with me in the recruiting process, and I had other options to go other places, but I just felt like ACU was home. My grandpa said how much fun he had here with club and with football, and then my dad said the same thing, and so I just felt like it was my calling to come here. I'm happy I did.
So, John, you have a lot of family connections. Can you tell us about some of those that you have to ACU?
My family has been a big part of ACU throughout its history. I'm happy to add on to that legacy. I really enjoy being here. It's my family school. I've been around it when I was growing up, and I'm glad to be a part of it now.
So, Slade, what was it like every Friday night you were playing at Shotwell Stadium, and now you got to move down the street, get to play at Wildcat Stadium? What was that like the first time?
Definitely a lot nicer. The stadium just in general just has been a big upgrade from Shotwell, just with the locker room and all the technology that has been like added into the stadium. And like I'll always enjoy the crowd shot well, but I love hearing the purple and white song after football games here.
John, what do you think has been the greatest part of getting to play for your hometown university?
So the old location of Anthony Field was Elmer Gray Stadium, which is where I played middle school football and my early high school career also. And so what is now Anthony Field was my old high school place. So that place has been home for me for a while. So it's really fun to continue that career there on through my college days.
So what would both of you say to someone who is an Abilene local that is thinking about coming and playing here for ACU?
Take a shot. I mean, me and John were both long shots. We're both walk-ons, and me and John just kind of had to get in the weight room, just work our butts off, and it's paid off.
Absolutely. I think you'll regret not trying a lot more than you will trying it out and figuring it's not for you. So I'd encourage anyone that's having thoughts about it to go ahead and try it out and figure out if this program is for you.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys. Max, we're going to send it back to you.
Thanks, Madison. Well, that's all for this week in ACU Sports. Until next time, I'm Max Preston.
As we welcome you back to the Adam Dorrel Show, take a look at the conference standings early on in the conference season. McNeese is the only team at 2-0. They played out of conference last week against BYU. You'll see ACU is one of 4 teams tied for 5th place at 1-1. Now, check out today's schedule around the Southland Conference, highlighted by the game in Huntsville, where Sam Houston State hosts defending conference champions Central Arkansas. After losing to Nichols last week, Sam can ill afford to drop another one today to UCA. All right, Coach, let's turn our attention to tonight's game. ASU hosts the University of the Incarnate Word. Both universities moved from Division II to Division I together in 2013 from the Lone Star Conference. ASU is 7-2 in the 9 meetings, including the big double-digit victory last week down in San Antonio. But the Cardinals, as you mentioned, have a new head coach in Eric Morris, and he comes over from Texas Tech, where he'd been offensive coordinator. They had a big win over Stephen F. 2 weeks ago. Then they had a bye. How high would you imagine the Cardinals' confidence level is coming in tonight?
Oh, I'm sure it is. You know, the thing that stood out to me immediately watching them this year is just you can see the cultural piece in their program. Their kids are playing with a lot of energy. You watch them interact with each other on the sideline, playing with a lot of passion. And so, you know, very deceiving first 2 weeks. They played New Mexico. They rushed for over 260 yards against an FBS opponent. And then, I mean, it's no secret that the guys up in North Texas are playing really good football right now. And they went in there and they really competed with North Texas, especially in the first 2 quarters. So they've played top-notch competition. They've had a philosophical switch in offense and defense, what they're doing. Got quite a few new transfers, some new pieces, and so it's going to be a very tough football game.
So, Coach, the Incarnate Word linebacker core is pretty talented so far. They're the top 3 leading tacklers for the team. You have Wes Lambert, Silas Stewart, and Markel Cooks. How good is this group of linebackers, and are you focusing on them in film sessions?
Yeah, you know, you look at their defense, and I think it's a good defense, and here's why. They don't give up big plays. They try to keep everything inside and in front of them. They leverage football properly. Up to this point, they haven't blitzed a ton, and they're getting pass rush with their 4 down or 3 down if they're in their odd or even. And so, to me, all those things that I just said are an indication of a good defense. And so, I think the 3 linebackers, they're very talented. I would take it a step farther and say, you know, those 3 young men are playing good because the guys in front of them are playing really good. They're playing 8 guys on the defensive line, I think, that are playing at a really, really high level. Number 55, I think, is as good as you'll find in this conference. And so, just very impressed with the way they're playing up front right now.
Let's talk about the other side of the ball. When you're on defense against the UIW offense, they've not had prolific offenses in the previous years. As you said, it's a very different team, and probably the front runner for Offensive Player of the Year in the conference belongs to UIW, Raquan Dickens, the running back who's gone for over 100 yards all 3 games, 2 of them, as you mentioned, against FBS programs, and he went for 220 against Stephen F. Austin. What makes Raquan Dickens tough to bring down?
Well, I think he's doing a really good job of being patient. So you'll see him hit 2-yard, 3-yard, 4-yard runs, and he doesn't get discouraged and he just keeps sticking it in between the tackles, and the next thing you know, he's popped it. The big runs that you've seen him make this year, they all have a common denominator. He's at some point in time had to get yak yards and make somebody miss. And
yards after contact.
Yeah, yards after contact, and he's done that on all those runs. He's hit somebody, bounced off, and then stiff arm or spun. Just made a tremendous run, and I think it, you know, that guy was on their team last year and didn't play much, and I think that speaks to me, more importantly, for his character and the type of guy he is, that he could withstand what they've been through a little bit and see him shining right now. I think it's one of the, you know, real good stories in our conference right now.
It's Division I football here in Abilene, Texas, and you have a chance to see it tonight. If you haven't ever been to an ASU game, come out to Anthony Field at Wildcat Stadium. Kickoff is 6 o'clock. You can listen to the radio broadcast on 98.1 FM, The Ticket, and around the world on ASUsports.com. You can also watch it on ESPN+. Kickoff again is at 6 o'clock. For Coach Dorrel and for Max, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching The Adam Dorrel Show. We'll see you next week.